main goal of the Advisory Council as it relates to the Voting Rights Institute is to provide that real-world pulse and input to the Voting Rights Institute and to the Secretary of State herself as to what's happening, what are the issues that voters are concerned about, whether they be young youth voters, older voters, poll workers, to provide that real-world pulse and input to the Secretary of State's office to ensure that the process is being moved forward to help identify problems and then provide possible input for solutions to rectify those problems.
The Advisory Council exists to encourage our electors, the voters of Ohio, to vote and to be informed about their rights as voters and their obligation as voters, to encourage more participation in our state government and in our federal government by casting their vote and participating in the citizenship duties of any state citizen.
The Advisory Council are people who come from all walks of life, organizationally, individually, who are passionately interested in election integrity.
Our feeling in the Libertarian Party was that a lot of people were disenfranchised because they felt like there weren't enough choices, party choices, if you will, or independent choices. So I tied those two together, and sure enough, I was asked to join.
Party, background don't matter. Everyone has equal say, everyone has equal input, and everyone's input is valued equally. And in terms of a nonpartisan entity that is extremely effective, I couldn't think of a better example than the Voting Rights Institute.
But I do think it's a vehicle for change. It's also a vehicle for enfranchising Ohio voters.
The Voting Rights Institute is an example of what can happen when a government agency not only is willing to listen, but actively solicits participation from various entities within the public to strengthen its program and to strengthen its office. And I think it's tremendously successful.
The Advisory Council does do a lot of public outreach. They're reaching out to students, high school kids voting, colleges, veterans. Also, they're working with adult parolees, overseas voters. So there's a lot of different entities that they're reaching out to and seeing how can we make this voting process better for you, and how can we get you involved in the process and to stay involved in the process.
I think it is needed, especially in these times when voters, not all, but there is a significant portion of the voters that have a certain level of discomfort with the direction of the country, direction of the state. This is one of the bright spots where they can get involved, or at least they could feel they have a voice through the various members of the BRI.
These are big issues. Voting administration are really big issues, and we agree that they should be transparent. They should not be bogged down in partisanship. And I think that because we're such a cross-section of the citizenry in the state of Ohio, that we can be a nonpartisan voice in the discussion in terms of how elections are administered moving forward.
Based on my veterans experience, I knew that a lot of our young veterans coming home have been involved in this big thing overseas, and they still want to be involved. They want to be part of some kind of process, to have a mission. So we paired up with the Secretary of State's office and created this program, again known as Operation Forward Democracy, to train young vets looking for that mission to become poll workers in Cuyahoga County.
One of my sons, who was the first child in my family to step up, and when it was his time to vote, he said he wanted to go by himself. And when he came back, he said, I felt like all my ancestors were with me in that booth when I voted. And so that's an inspiring thought. I wanted every citizen to feel that feeling each time they voted.
There were issues about ballot forms that I was involved with to ensure that minor parties, for instance, were included on the ballots, absentee ballots, requests for absentee ballot forms.
Well, working on the council has given me the opportunity to hear the concerns of other groups out there and to understand maybe their viewpoint and to see how, as election officials, how we can work together to make the process better for everybody.
It's not about who you vote for, it's really about the issues. And I thought it was really important that we all had an opportunity to really bring forth the issues that are most important to the voters in Ohio.
I think it is important for the citizens of Ohio to make sure that they have a voice in the process, and voting is that voice. And so whoever is the Secretary of State who is charged with implementing and administering the elections process, I think it's important for the citizens to know who these candidates are, where they stand on their issues, whether they will restrict or compact or expand people's right to engage in the political process.
And this is a system that has worked well, and that it's allowed constituents from around the state to provide direct input into the process at a time when a lot of other government agencies are being chastised for distancing voters, distancing their constituents. And I think this would be a tremendous step in the right direction for the incoming administration to continue the Voting Rights Institute to ensure the integrity of the whole voting process here in Ohio.